You are listening to StoryMakers, the podcast for women who are ready to step into their true identity, live with meaningful purpose, find belonging and connection, grow in leadership, and walk boldly in faith. Here you can uncover the story that you were created to live because you were made for such a time as this. What if we used our imagination to interpret every person who crosses our path as somebody who has a story where we are unaware of? Even the people we think we know a lot and we are seeing face to face on a daily basis, the people at the grocery store, the people in the car that cut you off. What if everybody, and we use our imagination that God gave us to use to do this, what if everybody got the benefit of the doubt that they have a story that deserves compassion and love, and that we don't interpret other people's life, behavior, actions as though they're intending to do us harm, that they have malicious intent towards us? Maybe they're even somebody who could be a blessing in some way. Maybe not even to us, maybe to other people today. What if we used our imagination to allow our thoughts to get in alignment with the way God sees the world and each of his sons and daughters, and we looked at people and treated them the way that we would want people to treat our children? How would that change our hearts? How would it help us see through God's eyes a little more clearly? I thought about this because I was taking a walk the other day. It was early and it was quiet. There was hardly anybody around. And I passed a young man who, in that moment, I had a choice to decide how I would interpret his presence near me. I had the opportunity to see him as a potential threat to me. And he wasn't doing anything but walking, right? But I had to decide, how will I interpret his presence near me? And it all stems from the neutral fact is there's a young man walking at the same place I'm walking. That's it. It's only negative or positive based on my interpretation of that fact. Oh my gosh, I better make a phone call so people know where I'm at. I better alert somebody to know that there's a young man who's near me. What if he mugged me? What if I was taken? There's so many different ways to interpret it. I'm not saying be unwise, but in reality, he was just walking, right? I could see him the way that cultural, and generational standards sometimes label his generation, like the millennials. Or I could see him as a young man and actually dig a little deeper and be like, wow, he's at such a hard stage of life trying to figure out who he is and what to do, right? So I had to ask, which of those interpretations is most helpful for me while I'm walking and praying and asking the God for revelation about my own life? Which interpretation was going to be the most honest and respectful to this young man, somebody who's done nothing wrong, who's given me no reason to think of him as a threat or as unworthy or unlovable, right? That choice was completely mine to make. And it's yours too. Every time you encounter another living, breathing human being, it keeps happening. People keep being people, right? And we keep peopling. What I have learned is that our interpretation truly shapes our interaction. The story we tell ourselves about another person directly influences the way that we respond to them. And sometimes it doesn't say much about them at all. It just says more about the paradigm we carry inside of us, the way we believe, the way we think, the imaginations we allow. When we interpret other people with fear or suspicion or judgment, it shrinks our hearts for them. But when we interpret with compassion and curiosity and dignity, things will shift for us and for them. Our perspective expands. We catch a glimpse, or we can catch a glimpse, of how God sees them. So, what's this look like in your daily life, right? So, maybe it's smiling at a stranger that you would normally not consider at all, not get any attention to. Maybe it is actually just becoming a little gentler or and softening your response to a family member or a coworker that usually rubs you the wrong way. Maybe it's choosing to believe the best about somebody instead of rehearsing the worst based on the past and the way you historically perceive their intentions or actions. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture, but it does need to be intentional. These things remind us that the people around us are stories in progress, just like we are, you know? And I know that it's possible for me to look at somebody and judge their behavior based on what I know about me, about what I think is real and true, and not have any idea about the intention of their heart. Because my behavior can be judged by somebody else as something completely different than the way I intended it, why I did that thing. And likewise, in the same way, I would want people to give me the respect and grace for me being in process and having intentions differently than they interpreted my behavior, my action. I should be able to give other people the same respect and honor for what they're doing and not assume I know why they did it. That's real hard. I know it is. It's real hard for me. I'm assuming it's probably real hard for you sometimes. I think it's like the people thing. It's just hard. So I want you to consider it. I just want to give you an invitation to think about, are you judging other people and imagining and interpreting their behavior as something you understand, and it's all coming from like, well, I know why they did that, or I think they did it and it means something that is not kind towards me, or not helpful, or not hopeful, or it's malicious, or it was unthoughtful, whatever. Are you really using your imagination and the mind of Christ that you've been given and the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind to interpret the situation and the people, the circumstances and events around you through a lens of hope or through a lens of victimhood? Are you using your imagination to see what's possible or what's inevitable? What is fatal? And are you asking God to inform you? Are you inviting Holy Spirit, like a dove, to sit on your shoulder and go with you and whisper in your ear and tell you the truth about the situation, about how God sees things, the big T truth about people in front of you? So think about the next, just an ordinary encounter, whether you're at home or you're out public or you're at work, and just stop and ask yourself, how will I choose to interpret this person, their personality, their behavior, their language? Like, am I going to interpret them as from a place of comparison, from a place of judgment, from a place of I'm a victim and they are going to take advantage of me or punish me? Am I, you know what I mean? Like, am I using my imagination and my interpretation from a paradigm of I'm less than or I'm more than they are? Or ask yourself, like, how can I interpret this person through the eyes of God? Like, I think of Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you a hope and a future. What if we thought like God about other people? Gosh, I know the thoughts I have for you. I have thoughts of hope. I have thoughts of a good future for you. When I look at you and interpret who you are, I see so much possibility. I see lovable, worthy, beautiful, creative you. I see you that way. I'm thinking about you that way. And that makes me feel compassion and joy and hope. And that leads me to speak kindly and gently and encourage you instead of break you down. And the results I get is I am leaving the world a better place. I'm blessing you. I'm revealing the character and nature of God. I'm building a bridge. I'm connecting in a relationship. Like the results we get when we shift our paradigm towards people are so much more fruitful and aligned with the will of God and can bring the kingdom of heaven to earth in a way that if we just allow our default paradigm to look around the world and see the people in front of us through our own perspective and our own lens, whether we want to try to make it positive or we try to break it down and make it negative, when we can just look at it and just say, like, that's just a person living their best, like the life that they have, the best way that they know how with what they feel that they've been given. And I will honor their story. I honor their process. I trust God to lead them and guide them and grow them. That's not my job, right? Let the people that you encounter, whether they're in your family or they're strangers, doesn't matter who they are, how close you are to them. Look at them, have compassion, and be part of a healing part of their story. Like be a part of like a chapter in their story that is about healing. Be a thread throughout their story that is about healing and hope and joy and the fruits of the Spirit. And plant seeds in their story and see what happens and how you might experience so much greater joy in your own life operating from that perspective and paradigm, and also start watching how you will reap what you sow. Okay, blessings and joy to you. Remember, all things are possible with God. He loves you. I love you, for you, and I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the show so you don't miss any new episodes. And to learn more about me, my work, and how we can connect, visit sterlingandstonementoring.com or check the show notes. And until next time, remember, all things are possible and figure outable.